Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanderson, Michael McDonald, Veterans in Politics. Today we have Briana Maxwell. She's going to be discussing options, which is the drug testing patch, and she's going to be talking about Family Court Judge Mary Perry, which I told everybody not to vote for, but y'all put her back in office. I mean, y'all put her on the bench, so you get exactly what you asked for. Good luck with that. I said that from the very beginning, before she even took the bench. I said, good luck with that. And you guys did it, so good luck with that. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Mike, you have any...
Rant? Yeah, another case that I mean, I don't know your story yet, but from what it hears like.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be talking to the guest, your rant.
Yeah, the rant is that we need to get family court out of the court system. An adversarial court process is not the best way to handle custody matters and division of assets. If we had a panel or something that you split it equally and keep it out of a adversarial court process, I think that's the best thing to do. And you have judges involved that have their own biasness or have their own opinions, and they go by their feelings, not by the law. And that's what we're seeing a lot of in our despotic family court that's going on. And there's very little oversight. We have little to no recourse on how to hold these judges accountable at all. But here we go. We're going to hear another story of just despotism and tyranny through law, especially the things that most near and dear to our heart, which is our children. So thank you for being on the show today.
Okay. You're welcome.
Well, Ms. Maxwell, thank you for coming on. Could you tell us about yourself?
Well, I'm born and raised here. I'm
a native, huh?
Yeah.
A local? Wow. That's rare.
You didn't buy any real estate?
No.
Should have.
I know I should have. I suck at money.
When it was really affordable.
Right? Yeah, no, I'm terrible at money managing. My mom goes crazy about me.
DaveRamsey.com, just saying.
No, I am. I went to private school my whole life out here. And then I went to public school in high school, ran track, played basketball, volleyball, and did ballet.
Oh.
And now I work in conventions. I'm a Teamster, and I love my job. It's the best job ever. And I have a 10-year-old and an almost 2-year-old.
Oh, you got two.
Uh-huh.
Oh, congrats.
And I love them. They're the best. If I get teary-eyed, sorry.
That's all right. We got tissue right there.
Okay.
What
Okay.
else?
Nothing. My kids I do a lot of dog rescue. I love dogs. I love animals.
Yeah.
So.
What high school did you go to?
I went to 3. I went to Faith Lutheran, Cimarron, and Centennial.
Oh, wow.
I was first graduating class at Centennial.
My brother went there, yeah.
Really?
So,
All right.
yeah.
So Ms. Maxwell, what brought you here today?
Family court.
You got all this here.
Yeah, I got all this that basically the judge has never seen or looked at because I was never allowed anything in trial.
Why, were you a vexatious litigant?
No, I just was a pro se during discovery and didn't file I filed my list of evidence, but I didn't get the book to opposing counsel by deadline. So she had the option and she said, no evidence, no witnesses. I got nothing.
That's because they want to hurry up with each case.
Oh, yeah.
And grab tea time and make sure their paycheck goes into their bank account.
Right.
No.
Right. So, yeah.
So you didn't have a chance to present your evidence or your case, present a case at all?
No, I had no case.
All right, so present your case now.
Okay, so should we start? I'll start back before everything happened. I was dating somebody. We started using drugs, or I started using drugs with him when he brought them home.
What kind?
Meth.
Ah.
Yeah. That's the second time in my life, little period of my life that I've done meth. And it was, the first period was with him, then he went to prison, then he got out, and then we started dating and we started getting high again.
Okay, so when you said a little period of time, are we talking 5 years, 2 months?
I think he was like a year.
A year.
A year here and a year there.
Okay. So he went to prison for?
He's a 7-time felon. He's been to prison 3 times.
You know how to pick him, huh?
Yeah, that was a very bad pick. It only lasted about a year and a half before I realized that he's very controlling. It was a terrible relationship.
Yeah.
And meth obviously made it worse.
Oh, of course.
He threw a saw at my neck one day, and you can see the scar.
Yes.
Damn.
It got my carotid artery. Blood was squirting out.
Like a chainsaw or is it?
Palm tree saw, like a serrated one.
Damn.
And what happened?
I made up a lie, but
Why?
because I'm stupid.
I would
Because
have put a bullet in his ass.
I know. Well, I called him a
until
bad.
until it was empty.
I know. I called him like the B word, which he didn't like because he's been to prison, I guess. And he threw the saw at my neck. But if it was a millimeter deeper,
Maybe it fit.
I did. It
The
did.
B word, yeah.
It honestly did, which is why I'd had enough of his crap. But so they had to stitch me up, and I broke up with him after that.
Really?
Then we had both gotten in trouble, and
You broke up with him, and then you guys got in trouble again together?
no, we had gotten in trouble prior to that. We were
Okay.
just waiting on like sentencing and all that stuff.
Okay.
I got drug court, and I started drug court, and then found out I was pregnant.
By
So,
him?
Yeah.
The guy that's trying to kill you?
Yeah, but I never got back with him. Like, I mean, I was almost 30 years old, so I figured it's time to have the baby. It's time to have a baby and settle down. And she saved me. I wasn't ready to quit getting high.
That was baby number one?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I hadn't have been pregnant, I would have ended up failing drug court. So she's the reason that I made it through. And he went to prison. He got out of prison when she was 8 months old.
How long did he serve?
8 months.
And that was for...
No, he had like he had $51,000 bail when he got arrested.
Oh, so you let him get away with
Yeah, I made up a story. Yeah.
this? What did you tell the cops?
That I was he had a car with no door handles, they were shaved, and he'd lock his keys in all the time. And we'd have to take things and pry open the window, tweaker stuff, you know? And I said that I was prying it open and it jumped back and cut me in the neck. I'm stupid, I know.
You just tossed this thing at you. And
I just chucked it from like 15 feet away, probably.
Oh.
Okay, please continue, Ms. Maxwell.
I know. Those were my stupid days, so I'm not stupid no more.
Okay.
So I had my daughter, and he got out of prison, and he always saw her. I never kept him from her, never got back with him, but never. He had her every holiday we'd split. He'd take her camping, see his family, his mom in Arizona. I mean, he just, all the time, anytime he wanted her, he could have her. Never asked him for child support. I was making good money, and he was just trying to get back on his feet out of prison. So I didn't ask him for child support.
Did he move in with you?
No, he moved in with his sister.
But you filed custody?
No, this goes on for like 8 years. 8 years later, or let's back up. When she was 5, I got sick. I have heart failure from a virus, like a common virus. I got really sick. I had to quit working. I had to file for food stamps, and they automatically open a case. He had a good job by then, and somehow, I don't know whether he lied or they just made a mistake in the computer, but they set his child support to $23 a week I was getting. And that'd be if he was still in prison. That's the minimum. I just kind of brushed it off because I still didn't want his money. And that continued on until COVID. When COVID happened, I asked him, hey, do you think you can give me 40 extra bucks a week or some groceries? I'd ask him like constantly. And I have all that on text messages. Everything I'm about to say, I have proof of, no matter what. He'd say, no, I pay what they deem necessary. His favorite word is deem. I pay what they deem necessary.
Was he getting visitation, or did you allow him to see the child?
All the time.
Okay.
He would usually pick her up like Saturday morning and drop her off around noon on Sundays. The only thing that I would ever say is, because I worked a lot of weekends. I mean, obviously I wasn't working during COVID, but the only thing I would say is if I happen to be off on a weekend, I'm going to keep her because I don't get to spend time with her, do anything fun.
Did he go to, how did the custody arrangement work? Did you have to go to court, or did you guys just work it out between yourself?
Yeah. He just called whenever he wanted her. And
Do you have any siblings?
me? Yeah, I have a sister. I have a and like we're all friends. Basically, we all did drugs together. My sister, him, my best friend, and we all quit around the same time. And we all moved on with our lives, and everything was fine. Everyone still talked. Everything was fine. Then, when he wouldn't give me the extra 40 a week, I kept saying, I'm going to have to file for a review because I need help. I'm not working. You're still working. His job was never gone. I filed for a review. They called him and said, it's going to be, I think it was like $667 a month or something like that. And he told them he didn't agree with that. And then a month later, he turned around and filed for joint custody. He said, I withhold my daughter unless he gives me money. He never sees her on any holidays. I just decide when
And this is after he cut your neck.
Yeah, this is years after. This is when she was 7, almost 8 is
He
when he
should be
filed.
kissing your ass,
He's
telling you, thank you for not locking my ass up for attempted murder.
And they
Because that's
paid
what
his
that was.
bail $7,000 too.
That was attempted murder.
Oh, I know. I've reminded him plenty of times throughout the years, especially lately, and he just, who did that? I sent him a picture of my neck because I found it, and he goes, who did that? I was like, okay, whatever. Anyways, where was I now? Okay, so he turned around. This is now 7 years. She's 7 years old. Never had any issues. Never had any CPS problems. My kid's never been unsafe. Everything's great. All of a sudden, he says, I'm withholding her. And this and that and this and that. So we go into court. And right away, his attorney says out of nowhere, well, there's a history of drug use, and my client thinks that there's drugs in her household. That's all he said. There's no evidence. There's nothing to suggest that I don't look like a tweaker. I hope. He barely has any teeth. I have all my teeth. But she just said right away, oh, okay, I'll send her for a drug test. My attorney, the only thing he said was, are you going to send both of them?
Do you know that there's a Nevada revised statutes that says that only a criminal court judge could order a drug test?
Yeah.
And family court judges are civil, so they have no jurisdiction to order drug tests on anybody.
I didn't know that.
They should have sent you to criminal court, whoever that judge was.
So I could have due process.
Yes,
and all that.
your due process was violated,
Yeah.
and that judge actually knows that they can't
That's
do that,
Mary Perry.
but they do it anyway because nobody holds them accountable for
Right.
it. So there's several cases that was appealed already to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court overturned it because they have no jurisdiction to order anybody to take a drug test. Family court judges, you have no jurisdiction to order a drug test on anyone. Only a criminal court judge could order a drug test. Family court judges are civil judges, not criminal. Please continue.
Okay. So she never said where to go during court. Not at all. She just said, okay, I'm going to send you guys for a drug test by 2. I wish I knew that I could have said no. I wish I knew I could have appealed right away. But
you know, they're going to say, well, your test is dirty.
Right.
And they're going to hold your child hostage.
Oh, well,
and there's another NRS that says that a judge cannot hold a child as a sword to get back at the parents. But you family court judges do it all the time.
And that's exactly what she did.
Man, sometimes I just wish that I had a case in the family court.
Oh.
Just so I could just, I would go all the way.
Well, I definitely got punished for standing up to the ordering of drug tests as the case goes on.
And you're also supposed to know the law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse, which you're not an attorney. You probably had no legal experience whatsoever.
No idea until I saw your show and you said that on a show, and I said, what? What? And then it makes sense because, there's no proof, there's no reason, there's nothing.
If it was me, I would file civil action in federal court for civil rights violation the way some of these judges handle cases.
I'm waiting for this.
I would just sue the living daylights out of them. And I wouldn't stop. I'll go right to the Ninth Circuit.
Don't know how to
I'll
do
go
all
right
that.
to the Supreme Court, wherever it takes me.
There's also Title 18, Section 242 is that you can hold a judge accountable if they violate your constitutional rights under color of law. And then you file that with a 1983, which I've filed some before. It's really hard to find an attorney that will help with these cases.
That's my problem is finding an attorney to help me with all this.
They don't want to go against the grain or poke the bear or go against
unless you get a federal attorney out of another state and bring them here that has no ties with anybody,
right?
And only deals in federal law. Don't even worry about state law because they don't care.
Right.
There's one that won a $9 million settlement with CPS took their kids in California and they actually won that settlement. And through a 1983 and collected on it. So
CPS, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with CPS.
child
And
predator
I'm not-
services, yeah.
I've never had to deal with CPS, but yet I'm unfit, supposedly. So
Did they prove you're unfit?
no, never,
Yeah.
not once. So after that first court date, it was video court, obviously. So I called my attorney right after court and I said, okay, where do I have to go take this drug test? He said, I mean, word for word, just go wherever they give drug tests. And I said, okay. So I went to the only place I knew, which was where they take us at work, which I've been to and passed. So I went there, I did my test. I called him back when I got there. I said, which one do I take? He said, do the cheapest one.
It's like Quest or something?
Not Cordon.
Options?
No, God, no. Options. I hate that place. Concentra.
Never heard of it.
Okay.
So I go to Concentra. I didn't even see the results. They put it in a sealed envelope, and I went to my attorney's office and dropped it off and went on my way. We go to mediation. We agreed on everything except Christmas and Thanksgiving. So we had a full agreement. That should have been the end of it. The next court date.
Stipulated orders.
Right. I
Yeah.
passed a drug test. He passed a drug test. We agreed on something that should have been done. You would think. The first thing she said in the second court date was, Ms. Maxwell, I have an issue with you going wherever you want to take a drug test. And I'm like, God, what?
This is what
You're-
Mary Perry.
Okay.
Did he have an attorney? Your ex?
Yeah, he has
So he had one, you didn't.
I did it
Oh,
first.
you did.
I've gone through 3 attorneys now. Kind of 3, 4, because it's just a mess. Anyways, so my attorney said, I'm the one that sent her because you didn't specify in court. You can tell she didn't believe him. She thought that I was bullshitting, it was me, blah, blah, blah. So she said, well, I'm sending you again. This time you're going to ATI and you're going to do a hair and urine by 2 p.m.
I always think that there's some type of kickback going with these drug
Yeah.
places and the courts.
Service provider, Steve. I think so too.
I think that there's some type of kickback happening.
Court approved service provider. It's so
Right.
corrupt, yeah.
Like, why? What was her reasoning that time? I mean, seriously, I passed a test. I don't look like I've never had a CPS case. Why is she sending me again? And then saying I have to pay for it this time instead of my ex. I didn't have money. Plus, it was during COVID. I was at home with my daughter during school. I was her teacher. So I just showed up late. I finished school, went there, and nope, can't test, you're past the deadline. So then, you know what happens next? The next court date, now it's, I deem you dirty. I'm taking all your custody away, giving him full custody and putting you on supervised visits.
Because you didn't do the drug test.
Yeah,
the
so I have
2
a
p.m.
pass test
So
and a
that-
missed test.
So that judge violated too.
And she just,
the having you take a drug test, which is out of her jurisdiction.
right.
Having you pay for a drug test that's out of her jurisdiction, and using your child as a sword to get back at you
Yeah.
because she feel that duped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she deemed me dirty. I lost all custody. He got sole legal temporarily.
Did you file a judicial discipline complaint against
Not
the judge?
yet, but it's
What are you
coming.
waiting for? Christmas?
It's coming now. Now it's coming.
They give you supervised?
Yeah, supervised. They
So-
let my
Oh,
mom.
of course,
Yeah.
because they want you to pay for that.
Well, no, my mom got to
Oh,
supervise.
your mom. I
So
thought
that,
they would
that
have had you
worked
at
out.
Donna's house.
Oh,
No,
they didn't have you
thank
at
God.
Donna's
No,
house?
she threatened it later on in the case. But my mom was supervised, and the good part is she kept our custody, our temporary 50-50 joint. So I still had her Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and he'd have her Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and
Okay.
Sunday. So that went on. I went and she ordered me to do the patch program, which here's where it gets crazy. I don't know. Do you know much about the patch? Or well, I'm sure a lot of people don't know about the patch.
Please tell us.
Okay. The sweat patch is this device that a pharmaceutical company came up with in like 1992, I think. They have a contract with the federal government to use it for federal probation.
Okay.
It's it's like maybe like that big of a little tiny square, a cotton or some sort of thing. And then it has an overlay and a big overlay, and they stick it on you, and it just collects your sweat for a week. And then you go back and they switch it. They put a new one on, and then they send that out for testing.
Okay.
So it sounds good in theory because the whole thing is it monitors somebody 24 hours a day for a whole week. Therefore, you can't, time your use or whatever they say. So fine, I go get this patch on. I give them a clean urine. By the way, I'm pregnant during all this. I'm about 15 weeks pregnant, I think, around that time. 15,
Same dad?
16. No. Oh, God, no. No, I never got back with him after I was pregnant. No. So I'm pregnant, too. I go in and I give them a clean urine because I'm clean. And I get this patch on and I go on with my life for 3 weeks. I was only supposed to wear it for 6 weeks. I come back to get my third patch changed, and the lady at the window says, "Oh, by the way, you owe us $25 extra this week." And I said, "For what?" She said, "Oh, because your first patch just came back." I was like, this 3 weeks later, why is my first patch results just coming back? She said, "Yeah, you were positive." And I said, what are you talking about? Positive for meth. And
who's this person?
Just some lady, their receptionist.
Isn't that a HIPAA violation?
Oh, I'll get into all that.
Shouldn't a doctor be coming and tell you that? Where's the girl at the front desk telling you that?
Yeah, and she didn't have any teeth.
As there levels when you're pregnant too, it might trigger something like that.
Well,
so she knows your business.
Right. When they put on the patch, they take a picture of the patch, and then they take a picture before they take it off so that they can compare to see if you're pulling it off and putting it back on, which is impossible, pretty much.
I don't know. I heard people were putting like bologna or something.
I've heard something like that, but I don't know. I had nothing to hide, so I was just wearing it, just going on about my day. Yeah. Every positive patch that comes back, they charge you an extra $25.
That's how they make their money.
There's something seriously wrong with that.
Sounds like a scam going on.
So when she tells me this, I obviously get really emotional and flip out because I know what's going to happen next is I'm going to lose my daughter even more.
Sounds like you already lost her.
I did. But I still had her 4 days a week, so that was good. And my mom is such a square, and I love her to death. She was by my side every single moment that Nicole was with me. She wouldn't leave my side because she didn't want me to get in trouble. She didn't want her to get in trouble. Right. She didn't. Yeah, I love her. She's funny, though. She was just right there. She'd go with me to get my patches changed. She was everywhere I went, which was good because it was good. We all got closer as a family because I'll just continue on because it gets really sad.
It's already sad.
Yeah. So I call my attorney right away and tell him. They're telling me my patch is positive for meth. He said...
Who's your attorney?
At this point, it was Todd Leventhal.
Okay.
He knew my uncle. My uncle was an interpreter in federal court, and Todd's a federal criminal attorney. Okay. So he tells me, go back there immediately and demand a hair and urine test right away. And I did that. I went back there. No, they brought the owner of Options out when I came back to go tell him, like, you got to do something because I'm not on drugs. I go, hold on a minute. Like, it was a routine. They go get her. She comes out, and she's got her little notebook, and you should see this lady. She's so stuck up. She's like a Karen, I guess you would say. And she sits there, and she straight tells me, like, you're just in denial. You're a drug user. You got to stop. Yeah.
That's what she tells you?
Yeah, just in denial. You got to accept it. I said, I'm not on drugs. And then I told her, I'm pregnant. I'm 20. By this time, I was 20 weeks pregnant. And I wish I would have printed out that picture of what I looked like at 20 weeks pregnant because I was big. She looked down at me and she goes, well, you don't look pregnant. You really need to quit using meth.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, wow. I stormed out of there so fast.
Were there other people around, or were you?
Oh, she took me into a room to have this discussion. But yeah, no, they tell you results. They have like a little window when you walk in. It's a little office. And there's, what is it, like that tall and that big. And they tell everyone the results. They change patches through the window. They tell people's results through the window. And everyone else is just sitting in these chairs all around.
There should be some level of privacy.
Just like I know, because I did drug court. That thing is very well run compared to Options was just, they couldn't find my file. Every time I'd come in, they'd be digging through piles and piles and piles in this room, and then they'd go in the back room, and then they'd find the file. And how disorganized. Anyways, so they take pictures of your patch, like I was saying, on their private cell phones too. So the receptionist with no teeth takes pictures of everyone's patch she applies with her private cell phone. Wow. And then they print them out. I don't know what happens to the picture after that.
Did you go to a second opinion? Like go right after?
After 3 weeks later. And because it was 3 weeks, doesn't that violate my right to confront my accuser by then? because I can't go backwards 3 weeks and do any kind of drug test other than hair.
You'd probably have to get it within like 48 hours or
Right.
something to show that,
Right.
like, look, I got it within. Yeah.
So 3 weeks, because what they do is they take off the patches and then they put them in their little plastic containers and throw them on a little rolly cart in the office, and they pile up and they pile up, and when they have enough, they send it out because it goes to a lab in another state. They send them all out FedEx, and then they get tested. So it's just sitting there for weeks, and you're not getting results, and you don't know.
They could have got mixed up or something.
Yeah, and I don't even know if they
sweat
put
leak.
them. They're supposed to put them in a freezer, I believe, but literally they just toss them all in this pile on a rolly cart. Maybe they put them in the freezer after the day's over, but I don't know. There's so much opportunity for cross-contamination, but still, and I'll agree with the judge on this. If there was cross-contamination, that'd be like one patch here, one patch there. Every single patch I wore was positive for meth. And the levels were up, down, here, there, everywhere. Like craziness. So when they told me I had the positive patch, I started to research it. This is an issue since 1992 across the entire country. Like, I found a Facebook group about it. We have a little messenger group we have a local one and a
So every time your
one.
patch is dirty, you got to pay another $25.
And you know that there's meth in like shampoos,
Everything.
and soaps, it's in almost everything.
the issue-
Methazone and all this other.
Right.
Yeah.
The issue that they have, the issue that the patch has across the country is cocaine and meth. People are coming back positive. People that don't even use, that's not their drug of choice. Just happened to be my drug of choice, but so it was even worse for me. But I mean, everywhere. And they've done studies where they've tested like gas station pumps and pumps at the grocery or handles at the grocery store. Everything has come back positive for meth and cocaine. Everything. It's everywhere you go. I found a retired, public defender. Her name's Franny Forsman. She was out here in federal court. She was the public defender, the special public defender, I think. She was able to fight the patch successfully out here and have it taken out of federal courts. Or they don't rely solely on patch results, but they still do across the country. I found her email address and contacted her. She contacted my attorney because they knew each other really well. She said she gets calls like almost daily from across the country about the patch. She sent him this packet, tried to explain to him the science behind it. She was able to prove that one of her clients, what happened was clients were adamant that they weren't using drugs. And she used to be a drug and alcohol counselor. And she said the difference between them and everyone else is that they didn't have any of the characteristics of drug use, but they were getting positives. So she hired like Metro's lab, like the forensic lab, to come into one of her clients' apartments and test the whole apartment, the walls and everything. I think it was cocaine was that problem. And they found cocaine in the walls, on the carpets. I read
They even found cocaine in the White House.
Right. About up to 1 in 3 rentals I researched and found. Up to 1 in 3 rental houses will have meth.
Well, the White House thing is probably expected, though. Those guys got to be smoking something in there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
To be as nuts as they are in there.
Yeah. But yeah, almost everything. I mean, even supplements, can trigger that. I remember getting a test for I was taking Rip Fuel Extreme to lose weight, and it had ephedrine in it or something. I tested positive for cocaine. I've never done a drug in my life. And
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so sad. But so we went back to court after I got the first 3 patch results, and she took away, I only had Nicole now 4 hours on Saturday and 4 hours on Sunday. The whole time I was pregnant. Basically, I didn't have Nicole there. God, it was lonely. So I started, Franny Borsman told me to go to ATI. Now, before I actually talked to her, I had started my counselor because I was going to counseling after this whole custody battle started. And I was telling him about the patch. And he said, well, why don't you just take some drug tests here? We do CPS case plans. So the courts know who we are, and you can take tests here. So I said, okay. So I just started coming as like every day, every other day, and taking urine tests there. All of them were negative. Where is it? Oh my God. This whole notebook is drug tests I took while I was on the patch. So
Did you know what? Did you find out if other litigants was using options, and they all had false positive.
Oh yeah, I stood outside options and waited and talked to some of the people
Then
coming in.
why don't you guys put together a class action lawsuit against options?
Well,
And you could claim damages, loss of your child, attorney's fees and
that's
costs,
what I'm
mental
trying
stress.
right now. I want us to go because I have a group of us on
Well, why
on
don't
Facebook.
you guys get together and file a class action in
How do
federal
we
court?
I don't know how to do it. What we need to file class action against is Farm Chem.
Well,
the
see,
makers of
this
the
is how you
patch.
file a class action lawsuit.
Uh-huh.
All you agree that options giving you false positive. All of you agree that you sustained some type of damage. And then all of you, 6, 5, 10,
Right.
go to the attorney and say, hey, we want to file a class action lawsuit.
I just can't find the attorney. That's been my issue.
Oh, well, I'll text you one.
Okay, so I start taking all these tests, and I don't know if you know about cutoffs and urine tests and all that stuff. Oh, I'm on the
Tell us
microphone.
about it.
So a cutoff is there's a level of detection, and that's the lowest point the machine can detect a drug. And then there's a cutoff level, and there's different cutoff levels, like DOT tests for meth, I think is either 500 or 1,000 nanogram cutoff. And that's designed to differentiate between potentially environmental contamination and actual drug use. So once you're above the cutoff, or near the cutoff is questionable, but above is basically science has agreed that that's probably drug use.
Okay.
So the place, my counselor's office where I was taking urines, has a cutoff of 100 nanograms for meth. I've never seen a cutoff so low in my life. Never once. Yet I'm passing every single urine test I'm taking
Okay.
while I'm still getting positive on the patch. But I'm missing the first 3 weeks, obviously, because no one told me I was positive on the patch.
Right.
But after that, it was every other day. Then Franny told me, go to ATI, which is the place I was supposed to go to in the first place, and start taking tests there every other day and have them sent directly to your attorney. They're called attorney tests. So I started doing that too.
That's what what's the I stand for?
American Toxicology Institute. So I was taking the test there. Now I'm going to both places, and I'm taking urine tests. And we put together all these tests along with a motion for to change custody back and to show her all these tests. And I had a baby. Obviously, I had a C-section the day before the motion was to be heard. So my attorneys decided to vacate the motion.
Okay.
But they still ended up in court. And that court date, Mary Perry she actually said, she had read the motion, obviously, and said, have I been too harsh on this mom? Have I taken away custody when I shouldn't have? Obviously, she just had a baby. We know they test the babies. Actually, the testing, they tested her cord blood. It goes back to when I was 12 weeks gestational age. That covered before this whole thing started. And they test that at a 0. Like, you can't, if there's any drugs, they'll know.
Because if a kid comes out of the womb and they test it
Right.
for drugs, then they get CPS involved. They
Oh,
get yeah, it's a whole process.
And nobody came. Like, I never had CPS. I wasn't even worried about it. And so she said, well, maybe it's mom's medication. This was her idea now. Because all my videos are on your page. And they look, if you just watch the videos, it looks like I'm the bad one. It really does. If I didn't know me, I would be like, ugh. But they don't tell the whole story at all.
Right.
Like, there's so much that never mentioned about all these drug tests in there. There's just so much.
Well, because you couldn't get to file anything.
Right.
Do you believe that one of the reasons is because you didn't have an attorney and you didn't have one that was available to you? Like, so you didn't know the process of filing any of the documents. You weren't able to portray.
Well,
your
I
side of
had
the
an
story?
attorney still at this point in time, and they filed the drug test with the motion,
Yeah.
the ones that I had taken so far.
Yeah.
But that got vacated because I had the baby. So instead, she said, well, let's see, look into mom's medication, because I have a heart condition, I take medication.
Okay.
So my attorneys went to look into the medicine. 3-4 continuances down the road, CVS never released the medication information. Come January 2022, I'm so sick. I have a fever. I told my attorney on that court date, I'm just going to stay home and do it on the video, because there's no way I'm leaving this house.
Right.
So we go through the whole thing, and CVS still hasn't released the documents. And then out of nowhere, at the end of the court date, the judge said, I'm sending mom for a drug test today. And so I was like, And my attorney, who knew I was sick, said, okay. So we get off and we're trying to contact the attorney. It was Todd Leventhal had somebody substitute for him because he was busy. So she just said, okay. And we tried to call her to say, hey, I've got a fever. This was during that, I mean, I know it's all stupid, but Omicron, all that COVID
variant,
bull crap. Yeah. I mean, I was really sick, whether it was COVID or not. It was just I had a fever. Who wants to go out and do anything when they have a fever? Anyway, so I got in the car and I start driving to ATI. And I called them on the way there. I said, I just want to let you guys know, I'm running a fever. I feel like crap. What's your protocol? Do you even want me in there? They said, call the court. And they gave me Mary Perry's number for her department because I couldn't get a hold of the attorney. So I called there and spoke to probably Marge, her assistant or something. And she put me on hold and she came back. She said, go get a COVID test first. So I turned around and went back home and started looking for an appointment to get a COVID test. And I couldn't find one for days. And I finally was able to get a home test. And I have that here too. I mean, if anyone wants to see it. I took the home test, it came back positive. So I sent a picture of that and my driver's license and sent it to her chambers. I got an email back saying, well, that doesn't affect the drug test. Okay, well, now it's 4 days later. I can't go back to ATI and take the test. I'm beyond my deadline. So now I've missed a test. And now I'm pissed off at that attorney for not having my back for any of that. So I fired them. And then my mom hired a new attorney, which I didn't want her to do. I just wanted to do it on my own. But she loves me and she wants to make sure I have the best. So
Who was that?
my mom or the new attorney, Jack Howard. He's
I know Jack.
Okay.
I know Todd too.
Yeah. I mean, I like Todd, and I don't know about Jack, though. He did my parents' wills years ago, so she knew them. And my dad had just passed away. That's where it gets sad. My dad had just passed away, so she had pulled out the wills and was going through everything. So she contacted Jack, and this was like 3 weeks later, and I was still sick. I had just come out of the hospital. With my heart, if I get sick, I get really sick. And I have to be careful because that's what caused my heart failure in the first place. So I was still sick 3 weeks later. I'd gone to the hospital, just got out, and my mom hired Jack. And that day, the judge had found out that I never went to that first drug test. Regardless of the email, like she swears she never got an email. I have it here. I printed it out and brought it.
Okay.
She got an email. She swears she didn't, but because I didn't take that drug test, she sent me that day again. And I didn't know about it. But Jack Howard looked into the case and called my mom and said, oh my God, she's supposed to go take this drug test today. Too late already. I mean, I wasn't trying to avoid drug tests like it looks in the vid, not at all. I had no problem. So anyways, we go to court now with Jack. And meanwhile, she had taken me off the patch until we could find out if it was my medicine. So I wasn't doing anything then. She was so mad at me for missing these 2 tests. She put me back on the patch, but then she added 2 random urine tests at options while I was on it.
Still with options.
Yeah. Okay.
Did the urine test come back positive or negative?
This is the best part. So I'm taking all the patches. They're still coming up positive. They call me twice a week for these randoms. I don't know when they're going to call me. They just love to call me on my way to work, though, so I'd have to turn around and leave right away. So I'm missing work. I'm taking every single random. And they're all coming back negative, every last one. One day I come in, and it was normal for there to be a lot of people in the office, so I'd go to my car, or I leave my wallet in my car, go back, grab it, come back. There's a lot of people in the office.
Right.
And so I was like, hey, I'm going to go to my car, get my wallet, I'll be back. I come back, there's still a bunch of people in the office. And she goes, oh, well, hold on, we have to observe you. They don't observe you pee options. They just send you in this bathroom and do your business. So I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden she goes, well, hold on 1 second. And she goes and gets the owner of options who comes back. And she goes,
same owner.
Yeah. She goes, we're not going to let you urine today. And I said, what? Why? Because you left the office and came back. I said, I told the lady I was going to get my wallet. She shook her head yes, and I came back, and there's same people were still waiting to do their tests. We can't let you, that violates DOT standards. And I'm like,
Because you left and went to your car?
yeah.
But you didn't take the drug test with
I
you.
never even started the test. I didn't do anything.
So what happened if you just came in a couple minutes late?
Yeah, she told my my attorney, because my attorney called. I called him and I was like, dude, this, and he goes, okay, I'll call them. She told my attorney that I came in looking all nervous. I had to pee. And then I ran out and left for 20 minutes. And then I came back in trying to go take a urine test, and they were going to observe me. But then they decided that they just weren't going to let me test.
Think you're putting a Wizinator on or something?
I don't know.
You haven't even taken the test, so what difference
I
does it
wouldn't need
make?
to put the Wizinator, right. I wouldn't need to put a Wizinator on because they don't even
Did you go
observe
and drank a bottle of vinegar and then walked in there to clear your blood?
I didn't know the vinegar worked like that.
Is that Steve knows all the truth.
Oh, during
could
this
pass out
time,
drinking vinegar,
during
though.
this time, I've also taken 3 hair tests just
Right.
throughout the time. So we have all that too. So
Brianna, I'm going to have you speed it up a little bit.
okay, I know there's so much going on. It's
Yeah.
so complicated. So we go back to court, and I'm waiting for the results of the urine to come back.
Right.
And they send the report to the court. Now, Options doesn't send lab results to the court. She writes up her own little paragraphs. Like she'll write her own little, I don't know if they're in there. Yeah. She just writes little paragraphs and little summaries and tells the court what your levels are. Total hearsay. So she sends that, and it says, although Ms. Maxwell has several urine tests that are negative, that does not mean that no drug is present. And then it said specifically in my results, in my urine, I had meth in my urine, but it was just below the cutoff. Therefore, I've continued my use of meth and therefore corroborated the patch results.
Did you?
No, I knew that was completely wrong. So I called court it. I looked through because I would video when I'd go in there.
So why didn't you ask the judge to go to another
She
facility?
wouldn't. She said that I couldn't. She wouldn't do it. She's
She's got to be getting the cut then.
Yeah, she said that
Campaign
I
donations or
forged.
something.
She wouldn't look at any of these drug test results. She said I forged them. I could have forged them all, even though they went straight to my attorney. When that came back about my urine, I called the lab.
You could have forged them all.
Yeah,
Could have, should have.
yeah. So I called the lab and I spoke to their legal department, and I told them what they said about my urine. She went through my results and she said, that was never told to anybody. There's no drugs in your urine results, period. Not even below the cutoff. So I was able to get a court order, and I have the affidavit from the lab and the little the little note that says specifically, there are no results positive just under the cutoff that exist.
So you brought this to court,
Yeah, in trial.
and what happened?
She didn't even,
She didn't pay attention to that.
no, she found.
But I bet you if that thing said that, oh yeah, you are a straight up drug user, I bet
Right.
you she would have paid attention to
Uh-huh.
it. So hypocritical of some of these judges, huh?
Yeah, so Options is definitely, she falsified my results to the court. Completely 100% falsified my urine results.
Options the same thing as that court did?
Have you
No,
have you
Cordon's a
filed
separate lab.
Have you filed a complaint with the AG's office? Not
Yes,
that they're going to
twice.
do anything.
They've thrown it back
Yeah,
at me.
they don't do anything.
Twice, and they've said, no, it's Health and Human Services. Filed it with them. They said, no, call the Attorney General.
Did
So
you file
it's
with the
gone
Health
back,
and Human
yeah.
Services? Did you try to get a U.S. district attorney to look into the case?
I called the Clark County DA's office, but they wouldn't do anything.
No. U.S.
No, I haven't.
So they had faulty testing procedures and testing equipment, and they're causing you to lose access to your child because of these
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a lawsuit to me, Steve. I don't know.
How do you not, if somebody is coming back positive on one thing, and you see all these negatives every other day that would cover the wear of the patch, and a baby, doesn't that tell you something?
Well, you need to file a class action lawsuit.
Yeah. So after she
Because
just,
I also think what Options is doing is criminal.
it
right?
is. She needs to go to jail.
And you're
Yeah.
probably not the only person
I'm
that's
not.
been affected.
I know
by
that
this.
I'm not. I know that I'm not for sure. All she sends is these little, whatever she wants to say, she could say to the court. She told the judge has brought this up twice, that I told her in her office that that somebody at my house was using. First time the judge asked me if it was like my brother or I don't have a brother. And then it was, are people in your house using? No, I've never said that. Period.
Even if somebody was using it in your household, how does that affect you? How does that enter your
Exactly.
bloodstream?
Now,
That sounds like a stupid question.
right, now we have tested the house that I was living at for trial because I had gotten an expert witness for trial who never got to be at trial. But so I paid him all sorts of money. We did testing of the house that came back positive for meth. Don't know the level because I couldn't afford further testing.
Yeah.
But it definitely, now the judge likes to say in her writings that I said that my house was permeated with meth. I never said that. I said it came back positive, but that doesn't tell us much of anything.
Do you have a meth lab buddy or the lawyers?
I don't know.
So where do we go from here, Briana?
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to find an attorney. I don't want this to continue to happen to families. That lady at Options, in my trial, she said that the patch adheres to the third layer of your skin.
Right.
She also said that if you have a fever, it won't affect the temperature of your urine.
Okay.
And the judge found her credible with this letter and that testimony.
Okay. I am going to send you an attorney
Okay.
because it sounds like that's all you need, right?
I need an attorney. Yeah, this is 100%. I've never seen the patch lab results. When you call Options and you ask her, can I have whatever contracts I signed, copies of the contracts, copies of my results, any of my personal, no, you can't have any of that. I called, can I have a record of what I paid? No, you can't see anything. They won't let anybody see
And
anything.
only the one location the judge told you, they didn't give you a list of providers or anything
No.
like that? Wow.
I would have taken, I don't know. So basically I told the judge, well, I didn't tell her, but I was like, I'm not doing these drug tests anymore. Screw this. Screw it. And that's where.
She has no our jurisdiction anyway.
Right.
But Brianna, we got to wrap.
I know.
We
And
got-
there's so much more.
We got to wrap this up.
What was the last part of your? You have custody now, though. At
No.
least you have like
No.
visitation.
Yeah, 3 weekends a month.
Oh, and it's due to this. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on, Brianna. Mark is going to zoom in on you, and you just have the final word. And if you have a point of contact, you go ahead and give it. If you want people to get together with you to file a class action lawsuit against Options, you could say that as well.
Okay. So I guess if you have problems with the patch, my email is Briana Maxwell 1983 @gmail.com. And it's BRIANA. And that's it.
That's it?
I don't know what else to
That's
say.
your public service announcement? All right.
I'm not on drugs other than that.
Well, Briana Maxwell, thank you for coming on the program.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep. Thank
Folks, that's Briana Maxwell. She was talking about the patch from Options, the drug patch, and she was also mentioning how Judge Perry violated her state civil rights, and with her constitutional civil rights as well. But we just want people to pay attention to what's going on with these options and these patches. And if you want to file a civil federal lawsuit, get with Briana Maxwell. She's going to spearhead that class action lawsuit.
Yeah, I definitely
I gave
will.
her an attorney and go from there. This is Steve Sanson and Michael McDonald, Veterans in Politics. Until next time.